Thank you very much. I'd like to call and convene our public hearing on the 2017-2018 general fund budget. And at this time, and I want to welcome everyone here. We'll do another welcome when we convene our regular meeting. But at this time, we're going to have a 2017-18 budget overview. And then anyone who has any comments for public participation, we'll hear from you at the end of that. So I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Lynn Richardson. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Gant, members of the board. Before we get started with the PowerPoint, I'd like to draw your attention to in your packet, you had obviously a PowerPoint, which I'm going to go over real quickly, and a yellow booklet with some of the detailed information in it that I'll be hitting upon in the PowerPoint presentation. But I did want to let you know about a few things that are changes this year in this yellow book. And the first one would be in our salary supplement schedule tab, there's a new schedule in here for special duties, which is on the second to the last page under the salary schedule tab. This was also presented to you at the last reading of the budget, which was 2 meetings ago. I'd also like to draw your attention to a couple of things under the fee tab, under fee schedules. There is, for grades 6 through 12 this year, a $35 technology fee for all students, regardless of whether or not they bring their own devices or use a district-owned device. We will eliminate the need for the $40 insurance fee. And also, in the list of course fees, you will see all of the core academic fees for AP classes being eliminated in the budget as well. And then one final thing I want to draw your attention to is under the other schedules, and this is our per pupil funding allocations for our school supplies. Are we ready? Nope. Apparently, I need to learn how to use technology. Here we go. Okay, this is the 2017-2018 proposed general fund budget. Wrong button? Okay, bear with me, I'm sorry. All right, the information that's provided in here, I always do my disclaimers as you're aware, but the information provided in here is based upon the Appropriations Act as approved by the Senate on April 4th. I did receive 135-day enrollment information from the Department of Education last Wednesday, so I've updated some of the projections in here, which has helped eliminate our deficit as well. But what you need to understand from this, I guess, is we're using the 135-day enrollment for our school district and the state. We're also using a base student cost of $24.35 as proposed by the Senate. Now, the conference committee has adopted everything in the House and Senate versions of the budget that match, that are identical. However, there are still some differences, and apparently they weren't able to reach an agreement last week, so I think their meeting is scheduled to meet tomorrow, and hopefully we'll come up with something before the end of the fiscal year. There are some differences. I'll point those out to you as we go through this thing that could change our budget ultimately. And if something happens significant from what I presented here, we would come back to the board at such time and amend our budget accordingly. Also want to point out one thing too, with the base student cost being funded at $24.35 according to the Senate, the amount that it should be funded is $2,984 by state law. Some of the differences is the House of Representatives appropriated a base student cost of $2,400, and like I said, the Senate appropriated a base student cost of $2,435. It would be approximately a $600,000 to $601,000 difference between those two versions. And so if the Senate version is adopted, we would show revenue about $602,000 less than what we are currently for the EFA. Also, some differences are the House proposed sending a portion of the pension reform funds directly to the retirement system and pass along 1% of the cost to us. The Senate proposed passing along the entire 2% to the school district, but also sending additional revenue to cover that. If the House version were ultimately passed, it would reduce our expenditures by approximately $1.1 million, but it would also reduce our revenue by about the same amount, so it'd be a wash. Things we've talked about, obviously, are in this budget. You know, whatever happens ultimately with pension, well, we know what's happening with pension reform, but how those costs are passed along to us is obviously a consideration. We do have some health insurance premium increases coming along our way. We are providing step increases for all our eligible employees. Like I said earlier, we've eliminated the school fees for the core advanced placement classes, or courses, that should read. We're going to add the technology fee in lieu of the device insurance requirement, and there's some additional staff in here that's going to meet the requirements of our board policies on teacher-student ratios. And we've also increased our estimate on what the cost for our terminal leave payout is going to be due to the end of the Terry program coming in June of 2018. We haven't changed much in this budget since the last time we spoke. These are all the additions in the budget. We've got the additional certified staff, as you can see there, at a cost of $770,773, and the additional support staff of $392,480. And then the rest of our budget increase of $7.3 million is due to step increases, the terminal leave, and the fringe benefits increases in our budget. Here's our projected local revenue for the general fund. We're looking at current taxes of $62,295,387, delinquent taxes of $1,808,329, fee in lieu of $1,281,484, and then other local revenue of $725,000 for total local revenue of $66,110,200. State revenue, and this is where we're showing an increase since the last time. Bus driver and workers' comp, $1.1 million. State fringe benefits of $23,186,887. EFA of $41,937,136. Property tax relief, Tier 1, $10,580,071. Tier 2, $1,758,200. And Tier 3 of $30,521,426. And then any other state revenue of $692,908 for a total of $109,868,265. This is just a remainder of our general fund revenue. We did, based on the Senate version of the budget, we do have a little additional money in teacher salary and benefits transfer from EIA to help make up the cost of the additional fringe pension costs coming our way. So our total available funding for 2017, 2018 is $180,555,374. This is just graphically showing how it's broken out. And as you can see here, local, state, and other, how it's broken out. And obviously, state revenue is our largest portion of our general fund revenue. And here's what we're expecting or proposing or projecting for our general fund expenditures. Our salaries of $113,613,900. Fringe benefits, $46,384,970. Contracted services, $12,185,498. Supplies and materials, $8,635,639. Other, $1,032,243, and any transfers and payments of $39,108 for a grand total of $181,891. $358. This just shows how all that's broken down graphically, and as you can see from this, approximately 88% of our budget is salaries and fringe. This is just to give you a reminder of what our allowable millage increase is for 2018. We had a consumer price index of 1.26%. Our population growth in Lexington and Richland School District 5 was less than 1% for a total allowable percentage increase of 2.16%, which equates to 5.4 mills in District 5. Just to recap what I just went over very briefly with you was our projected revenue of $180,555,374. Projected expenditures, $181,891, $358. As you can see, there's a projected shortfall there of $1,335,984. If the board were to move forward with a millage increase, I estimate with the maximum millage, we could generate $1,331,608, would leave us a projected shortfall of just a little shy of $4,400. There's also, I need to mention this to you, however, I don't count on it and it's not budgeted, but in the Senate version of the budget, there is a provision in there that would allow us to potentially receive a hold harmless amount of money to cover the, I think we've discussed this before, the index of taxpaying ability, how that uses some imputed values that would cover the amount of money that we're losing as a result of that change and how they compute that, and it would equate to somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000 to $500,000 additional dollars to our district if that were to happen. Here's what the cost of a millage increase would be to the taxpayers of our district. Any owner-occupied home, obviously, would be exempt from any tax increase. Any vehicles or other type of personal property assessed at 6% with a $20,000 assessed value would cost $6.48 for the 5.4 mil increase, and then any other personal property, obviously, per $100,000 assessment would cost an additional $32.40. That, Mr. Chair, is the end of my budget presentation, but I'll be glad to try to answer or address any questions that you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Richardson. And at this time, this is actually our public hearing of the budget, so I'd ask the board members if you have questions to save them for we're going to later discuss the budget in our regular meeting tonight. But I also wanted to mention to the public, this is technically our fifth, as the night ends tonight, we'll have had 5 discussions of this budget. We had a general discussion. This board had a budget workshop. We had a first reading, tonight's public input that you're seeing right now, and then later tonight we'll take up the budget again and have discussion and debate on it. So I want you to know it's been fully vetted and out there. and hope that you all have been able to watch that and see it as it's gone through the process. And before we go to our public presentation, I want to recognize, because I'm not sure if they're going to stay to our next part of our meeting, but I want to recognize Representative Chip Huggins. Representative Huggins, would you stand up? And also Representative Nathan Ballantyne, if you stand up. And with that, we are now going to entertain those folks that want to have remarks regarding the budget tonight. We have a couple people signed up. Our same rules apply. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and decorum provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. You'll be limited to 3 minutes, and your questions asked and put in writing will receive a response. And we ask that you be respectful to the staff, the board, the superintendent, and especially above all else, our students in District 5. We want to set a good example for the students and the community. We ask further that you be as truthful as possible in your statements. And with that, we will move to our public participation for the budget. And the first person signed up is Kathy Robinson. Ms. Robinson.
Okay. I was looking at the line item for $770,000, $773, for the additional certified staff. And I understand teacher salary, but I wasn't sure what the behavioral specialist and the one special service program specialist and what their salaries might be, because this seemed like a lot of money on that line. That's my question. I don't know if y'all can answer it tonight or.
I think Mr. Richardson may attempt to do that. I don't know if that's getting in this.
Answer where the salary piece comes from. Somebody else may want to answer what the positions are exactly, but those are certified positions and they're budgeted at the same salaries that our teachers are. That's salaries and fringe, that amount that you see there.
Okay, so teachers are making about 75,000?
That's salaries and fringe.
Okay, so the fringe is included in that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. The next speaker is Ms. Kim Murphy. Ms. Murphy?
Good evening. According to your most recent financial report, this 2016 year, during the last 10 years, the district has essentially over-collected taxes in the amount of $15 million and put that money in fund balance. And the total balance in fund balance is now up to $37 million. So almost every year, additional money, tax revenue, continues to go into fund balance and accumulate. And you continue to increase taxes. So essentially, you're over-collecting or you're increasing the millage more than what you really need to be. But when you end up over-collecting the tax revenue that is earmarked for paying teachers and operating schools, I wish you would develop a policy to use those over-collected funds to help offset what you need the following year for paying your teachers and operating the schools, instead of having it continue to accumulate and then use it on other things that aren't essentially sold to the public during this public hearing. A little bit of constructive criticism. The board packet on your website does not show the proposed tax increase or the millage rate or how you intend on funding the budget. You know, I follow this very closely, and I'm a numbers person. But for those who don't, in order to hear what's being proposed and what you're voting on tonight as the final reading, you actually would have to attend this meeting and be here right now. So I would ask that you try to post this information before the board meeting in your board packet. I know the board members get it on Thursday, and then Friday, the public gets to see the board packet, but this portion was not included. So I would just ask that you consider allowing the public to see what you're proposing before the night you actually vote on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. I need to mention to the public who you're saying doesn't have access, this entire meeting is being recorded just as it is right now. It is 100% available to the public, and they could see it at any time. So that will stand as corrected. And we thank you. That's the only people we have signed up for public participation on our budget. And that would bring us to adjourning, to have a motion that we adjourn our public hearing on the 2017-18 general fund budget. Ms. Hutchison,
I move that we adjourn the budget hearing.
have a second? Mr. Cates, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that brings us to calling to order our regular meeting, which I think most of you are here for.